Most football fans don't know much about Portuguese football. The vast majority know about Porto and Benfica because of their frequent appearances in the Champions League knockout rounds, and Sporting because that's the club where Ronaldo came from. But today, we're not going to be talking about any of those teams. Instead, I will tell you all about the fascinating rise of Boavista and the nightmarish scenario that they're currently in. From being known as that British club in Portugal to their iconically title win and now to the brink of bankruptcy, ladies and gentlemen, this is the rise and fall of Portugal's forgotten giant. Boavista was founded in 1903 by two English brothers and entrepreneurs, Harry and Dick Lowe, joined by Portuguese textile workers who were employed at the same business owned by a certain William Graham. Right from the start, the dream of a Boavista club almost ended before it could even reach its highest peak, as its English Anglican Christian members insisted on having matches scheduled on Saturdays, while its Portuguese Catholic members wanted to play on Sundays. To get out of that deadlock, all club members voted and the Portuguese won. Subsequently, many English members left the club, and Graham, who had been supporting the whole project financially since day one, terminated his involvement with the club. But Boavista lived on, and while it would take them several decades to become competitive, the checkered ones eventually clawed their way to the top of Portuguese football, winning back-to-back Portuguese Cup titles in 1975 and 1976. Meanwhile, they also finished just 2 points behind league champions Benfica in 1976. Those two seasons would serve as a defining point in their history, where the Panthers became a consistently strong team in Portugal, always making life difficult for the three giants whenever they had to visit the Estádio do Bessa. In the next 2 decades, Boavista continued developing, mainly due to their European experiences across both the UEFA Cup and Champions League, where they celebrated iconic victories over legendary teams like Atletico Madrid, Valencia and Inter, just to name a few. Then in 2001, Boavista finally achieved their ultimate goal. In a remarkable campaign where the Panthers only conceded 19 goals in 34 matches and suffered only a single home loss, Boavista rightfully cemented their place alongside the three giants. Fans were excited for the future, and the next 2 seasons only increased their lofty expectations. After all, most clubs in their position would probably lose off their best players and drop down the table significantly, but that couldn't be further from the truth. In the next season, Boavista had a decent league campaign, finishing in 2nd place, while in Europe they made it to the Champions League's second group stage, which would be equivalent to the current round of 16. In 2002-2003 they had an awful league run, finishing in 10th place, but they continue outperforming several European giants with a fantastic semi-final run in the UEFA Cup. However, by this point, the cracks were already starting to show. You see, it was fantastic for Portugal to host Euro 2004. It gave the country a lot of exposure, not only to its football, but also as a potential tourist destination. But there's always a flip side to everything in life, and football isn't an exception. There is a huge gap between the three giants and the other teams, and 20 years ago, the situation was the same. Many clubs like Beira-Mar, União Leiria or Boavista upgraded their stadiums to host Euro 2004, but over time, that investment never turned into profit. Boavista wasn't capable of filling the stadium. The maintenance costs, plus the debt from building it, kept adding up, and the club only grew poorer. In less than 5 seasons after they revamped Estádio do Bessa, Boavista was a ghost of their former selves. They couldn't possibly compete with the giants, and even teams like Braga and Nacional were able to surpass them and secure some precious sums of money from European competitions. Practically all of the best players from their 2001 title-winning squad, such as Ricardo, Petit, Elpidio Silva or Pedro Manuel, had departed, and due to the lack of available funds, weren't properly replaced. Boavista was falling behind, but in reality, the worst was yet to come. A hurricane that shook the core of Portuguese football called the Pito Dourado, which involved a bunch of corruption allegations against Porto, Leiria and Boavista. All clubs were convicted in court, but Boavista received by far the harshest punishment, a swift relegation to the 2nd tier, and as a consequence, the dramatic loss of all of their valuable players at the time. If they were weak after year 2004, then in 2008 they were merely a walking corpse, suffering humiliating loss after humiliating loss against teams they would have bulldozed through less than half a decade ago. By the end of the 2008-2009 season, Boavista was once again relegated, and this time it was simply due to their poor performances. The next 5 seasons were hell for Boavista fans. They were stuck in a reality that most of their fans had never experienced in their lifetime, and perhaps what hurt them the most was that it was completely deserved. There were no courts of law or any higher power preventing them from achieving promotion. They were simply not good enough. Then in 2014, with the return of their former president João Loureiro, the same guy who was present when they won the league, Boavista managed to prove the relegation was too harsh of a punishment and they were allowed back into Portugal's first tier, with the added bonus of having a big part of their debt completely erased. Still, nobody thought that they were coming back to challenge for the title. All Boavisteiros knew it would take a long time and good management to even reach the Europa League, but those dreams never became reality. After many seasons successfully fighting against relegation, the Panthers accepted Gerard Lopes as their new owner in 2020, and from that moment on, things got even worse. Initially, the club attracted several well-known figures like World Cup winner Adil Rami and former Benfica star Javi Garcia, but the higher investment didn't turn into sporting success. Boavista was arguably even worse than before, and soon after, the little financial stability they were trying to build was gone. Their reputation is in the mud, as several clubs and players have already called them out in public for unpaid transfer fees and wages. Multiple players have cancelled their contracts, and this season they're banned from registering the signings they've made in this transfer market, something that has already happened twice this decade. Nowadays, club legend Fari Faye is Boavista's president, and he has the hard task of legitimizing the club in front of investors and other clubs. And trust me, it will not be easy. Boavista lost more than half of their starting 11 from the previous season, and that says a lot considering that they also lost several key figures in the middle of the previous season. But if they have a competent manager, I'm sure he'll bring the fire in these players and secure their place in the first tier, right? Well, their coach Cristiano Bacci has worked almost his entire career as an assistant manager, and the only time he was ever a head coach in Portugal was with Olhanense, in a period where ironically they also faced major financial problems and ended up relegated into the third tier. Yeah, it's not looking good. It was already a miracle that Boavista was able to meet the criteria to play in the first division, but eventually they'll run out of luck. I'm not saying the level of the Portuguese league is incredibly high, but unlike what Ronaldo says, it's better than the Saudi Pro League. And Boavista is miles below the level of the weakest teams, not only in terms of player quality, many of whom were reserves at the club just a few months ago, but also in terms of stability. There's no way you can motivate a squad that is always fearing whether they'll get paid at the end of the month or not. You can expect the same level of commitment from these players, so ultimately, I believe it's just a matter of time before they get relegated. I just don't know if it will happen on the pitch or outside of it. But I do know one thing though, I'll miss the Invicta derbies, I'll miss their iconic checkered shirts, I'll miss their fan base, and the quality youngsters that always show up every year. And most importantly, I'll miss the 4th best club in the country where very rarely anyone stands out other than our 3 giants. To all Boavisteiros, I hope you never forget that Boavista não desiste, resiste. And that is it for the video. Make sure you comment other teams that you think I should make a video on, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Throne FC for the best football content on YouTube. Thanks for watching till the end, I appreciate you, and I will see you on the next one.